Hello, everybody. My name is Boombox, a.k.a. Mitchell. I am one of the hosts of the Nerdcast. It's been quite a while since we've actually returned to this podcast, but fret not. We do intend on returning to this series of podcasts, if you will, sometime in June, maybe July, depending on how things pan out. The difference being is that, firstly, this is no longer the Nerdcast. It is now known as the Mad Dash Podcast. And secondly, Kevin will no longer be a host on the podcast due to certain things going on behind the scenes. He is no longer a viable person to have on the podcast. For the time being, though, this channel will have a old episode of the Nerdcast, or the only episode of the Nerdcast on here, to give everyone kind of an idea of what to expect with the series going forward, just minus Kevin out of that entire equation, if you will. Anyways, thank you guys for sticking around, and, well, enjoy the podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Nerdcast. I am your host, Mitchell, and I am joined here by Cullen.
Hello.
And I am joined here by Kevin.
Hi.
And, well, how is everyone doing so far?
Lots of snow.
A lot of snow.
It's fun driving though, but it's also slightly terrifying.
Yeah, no kidding. Fucking Kevin and I have had to dig out our driveway at least a good solid 4 times now. Or at least we've had to shovel it out every day during the times that it was like just snowing like crazy.
Yeah, we were supposed to be going to school, and well,
I'm online.
Yeah, he's going to campus, and I wake up at like 7 in the morning. His alarm's going off, and he's like, "School's canceled," and we sleep for like 2 more hours. And his parents come in, and they're like, "Go out there and clear off the driveway again.
Get your fucking ass out there and help us."
So I go out there in like shorts and a t-shirt, and I'm like,
yeah.
But did you guys see last night
the Switch presentation?
Well,
Sure
no, I'm talking about still outside. It was a full moon last night.
Oh, I didn't. I did kind of see that one, but I wasn't paying too much attention because I was dog ass tired. But hey, I mean, like, since I did bring up the Switch, you guys want to talk about the Switch?
Sure, that was interesting.
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. So what did you? So let's see. The Switch presentation was last night. What were you guys' general thoughts on it?
Looked pretty cool.
It surpassed my views on the earlier trailers for it.
There were points of it where, for me personally, it did kind of feel a little bit underwhelming, but I think because of how they spaced some of the product reveals and whatnot, it did kind of make it, in a sense, a bit more enjoyable to watch. Because a lot of people have been making quips about this on the internet for the last day or so now, and they've been complaining about like, oh, the presentation was boring, yada yada yada, and I'm like, okay, like
It's like any other keynote presentation.
like, would you like to have something like what Microsoft's keynote presentations are, or would you like to have something that's kind of like in between there? Like, because I think you can kind of agree with me. The keynotes, or at least what Microsoft talks about anyways, are exciting, but like the presentations themselves are boring as shit to watch sometimes.
Yeah, like they didn't have anything to show like real time, like demos of games on it. But
yeah.
I'm happy that it answered a lot of questions that we've been asking.
Yeah, I'm glad they finally came out with pricing for almost everything that they're going to have for it. And
since you actually brought up pricing, so they're saying that it's like an MSRP of $300, and I what was it, like the Pro Controller itself was like $80 or something like that?
I believe the Pro Controller's $50 to $60, and the Joy-Cons are $80.
That's right, it was the Joy-Cons. And I was actually kind of chuckling because, again, looking on the internet, seeing how other people were reacting, I saw a lot of people complaining about pricing. A lot of people.
I mean, I'm hopping on that train for the Joy-Cons. I mean,
oh yeah, the Joy-Cons are a bit ridiculous. I'll give them that for the size.
Now, does the Joy-Cons, do they include the Joy-Con grip with the 2 controllers for that?
No,
I don't think so.
No, they
It's
don't.
literally just the 2 halves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the back part, right?
Yeah.
The charging thing is $40 by itself. That's what they call it, is the charging port.
Oh, the charging dock, you mean?
Yeah, it has the grip on the back.
Huh.
So you charge them on that.
Oh,
and-
okay.
Yeah, no, like the and I'm wanting to say that like Joy-Con AC docking ports and whatnot, those are all designed to be like replacement parts or added bonuses, like for the Joy-Cons and whatnot. If you have the local multiplayer and whatnot, and you have a buddy who doesn't have a Switch himself, I'm willing to bet it's probably something along those lines where you can actually connect a second set of them and pretty much use them as if they were a part of the Switch system or something like that. Like even they were kind of a bit ambiguous when talking about the Switch Joy-Cons and whatnot.
They answered a lot of questions.
They did answer a lot of questions, but they didn't answer everything, which I'm assuming would come to you if you were like a developer or something for the Switch and whatnot. And
They said what sensors they all have.
oh yeah, I know that for motion controls they finally decided to part ways with the infrared controls and moved to an accelerometer and gyroscopic motion control, which I'm thankful for.
It still has IR cameras on the bottom.
It does have an infrared.
Only on the right one.
On the right one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I'm wanting to say it's both. Right?
No, it's only right Joy-Con.
Oh, okay.
But the infrared sensors for in general, the infrared sensors in this case are designed as a measurement tool. It's not like a motion control or something like that.
It's not necessary.
Yeah, it's not required in the system anymore, which is amazing. I can't stop being fucking excited about it.
What did they call it? The HD accelerometer?
Oh,
or Rumble.
the HD
Rumble.
Rumble.
That
Okay.
makes me so excited. He's
I-
like, you can feel the ice. And I was like, oh.
Well, no.
I don't think
Let me make something very clear. They say it's HD Rumble, and I even made a note of this in my notes. So it's just like I kind of made that offhanded comment. It's like, quite frankly, they should have just called it haptic feedback because that's kind of what it is. It's just haptic feedback.
I think it's just marketing terms.
Yeah, I'm wanting to say it's just marketing terms, and like I'll give them that. It was pretty clever of them, but I feel like they should have just been a little bit more to the point and just said, "Hey, we got haptic feedback in our controls. Look at us, we're so fucking cool. Woo!" You know?
But then it's like it's not as striking, you know. HD Rumble, you can feel the water going into the glass.
Well, like you can structure it in a way where you can use the term haptic feedback and actually play into it in some way. I don't know. That's just my personal opinion.
I am kind of sad that they didn't delve into the battery life of the Joy-Cons themselves.
Oh yeah.
Because they definitely... I didn't see any battery pack on them. So I assume that you either charge it on the grip or on the actual console itself.
Well, since you actually brought up the topic of battery life, let's talk about the Switch's battery life, or at least what the developers are claiming. And this was a kind of a topic of debate between you and I last night, Kevin, where we were kind of going back and forth in an argumentative state, pretty much talking about how what was it? How at least from my perspective, it was the Switch wasn't the marketing team wasn't exactly being truthful in my eyes. When I watched the presentation, I did. You were right before you even watched the presentation itself that the marketing team did say that depending on the application, battery life ranged from 2.5 hours to 6.5 hours. But that brings me to my point, is that I'm a little skeptical about the Switch in terms of its battery life. That's probably my biggest concern with the Switch at the moment. I don't want it to fall flat on its fucking face. Like, Nintendo's already been having kind of a fair share of issues with the Wii U and whatnot because they've been selling so poorly. And the last thing they need is to be hyping up the battery life on this console, and then come to find out when release date comes around, it performs half as well as what it was claimed to be, even when it was doing nothing but like the most basic of things.
I assume that if my hypothesis is right about the Joy-Con, that when it's by itself and you have them on the side, it's either charging it or they're just there to be held as a place marker, for the controls. if they are being charged, that's going to shoot down battery life like nothing else. Like, if you play it, let's say, what's it called? 1-2 Switch, that game?
Yeah.
You have it by itself, just the screen with the game playing on it, and then you have the controllers in your hands, and you're playing with whoever you're playing with. I believe that would have more battery life than, let's say, if the game had the controllers on the side, and the controllers are dead. Because it has to supply power to them for them to work, unless there's some connection going on between it where they don't need power to be able to work with the console itself.
Yeah, and I guess you do bring up that point there, and that kind of, it does support my claim, and it does support my theory, anyways. But I remember that you were very much for the idea that it was all accurate and whatnot, and I mean, like, Cullen and I can agree. If there isn't conclusive data that backs it up, you have to remain skeptical at all times.
Sure, we're not certain what it's going to be, but I'm certain that the Switch can achieve that battery life when playing a game on the go. Because, I mean, laptops can do that. It's all up to how much the developers are pressing load on the system on battery life. Like, maybe if you're playing Breath of the Wild on the television, it's full-blown, full performance, whatever. Yeah. But then once you take it out, it might run at a reduced resolution, or it might stop rendering some stuff that just add to the beauty of the game so that it could run for an extended period of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it will be kind of interesting to see what goes on with that, and if I end up getting my hands on a Switch like everyone else is wanting to, then I will definitely be running it through a lot of testing and seeing just how well it works. And I'm trying to figure out what the resolution on that display for the Switch's console itself is, because I know that they were saying that it was capacitive touch and whatnot, but they weren't giving like any indication on what resolution it was.
Afterwards, they had some information that they put out on their website. According to that, it says when it's connected to the dock, it's supposed to be 1080p 60 FPS. But when it's disconnected, it's supposed to be 720p at 60 FPS. Okay. I don't believe that the 60 FPS mark is going to be true to the point.
No.
At all times, obviously.
Especially on battery life.
Yeah. Well, no, it does depend on how well the Tegra chip operates. Because we do have to remember that NVIDIA has put a stake on the Nintendo Switch for its graphics-based processing, which... If it's the Pascal based processing unit that we're all hoping it's going to be, which I'm hoping it is as well, because that should put a little bit of a fire under competitors' asses in a sense. Then
those chips are pretty power efficient.
Yeah,
so.
It's power efficient, and if, like I said, if it's Pascal, then it should be pretty freaking powerful, quite frankly. So I'd say let's switch gears a little bit from the battery.
Let's switch. Lights go out.
Oh my god. Okay, let's actually talk about that for a little bit. That was like, I actually liked the marketing behind the Switch itself, and during the presentation, it was awesome. You kind of felt like it was supposed to be like that. It was kind of supposed to be cheesy, but yet memorable all the same.
I thought it was cute.
It was.
They had a theme to their
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
presentation.
It was.
The thing that makes me sad, though, I don't know if you guys looked into it. Apparently, the live stream and the presentation didn't do well with their stockholders because their stock fell as soon as it came out. They were at 31,000 in stocks, and it plummeted to 24,000 right after the live stream went.
Damn.
And it makes me really sad because I thought they did a great presentation, but apparently their stockholders thought that it was going to be another flop like the Wii U.
Well, I don't blame them, to be honest. Like, if you look at the failure that was the Wii U, I'll still stand by the Wii U and say that it was a good console. Ultimately, it just had a bad start, and it just had a bad life cycle. Like, there wasn't jack in terms of third-party developers developing for that console. At least not immediately out of the gate, unlike what we're seeing with the Switch.
But I will give Nintendo credit that they're willing to try something new.
Yeah. No, don't get me wrong with that. Like
it might not be the most popular thing, but like
the whole pushing the boundaries thing, I respect them for that. That's impressive that they're able to do that with the company that they run. Now, of course, we'll not get into the fact that they're not only a game developer, but they have several other industries that they have ties to. But we're not even going to get into that because that's not the point. I do see the point with why their stocks plummeted so much, because people were jumping to conclusions way too quickly, and that's always stupid. It's okay to have a little bit of faith in the company, but exercise the skepticism as much as possible.
Well, we can only see what it's like until you actually get your hands on it. So.
Yeah. So now, switching from that topic, we're going to get the Switch. We're going to get the finger snapping down before the end of this podcast. I swear to God, we're going to get it down before that.
Translations.
So, let's talk about region locking. The fact that
lack thereof.
Yes, exactly. This is the first console, I believe, in a long time. Or no, I think this is actually just the first console in general from Nintendo that is not region locked.
Mm-hmm.
I would actually think to say that it's the first quote-unquote next-gen console that doesn't have region locking, because I know the PlayStation does, I know the Xbox One does, the Wii U definitely does. A lot of handhelds do as well.
Well, dude, everything from Nintendo has pretty much been region locked ever since they broke into the market with the NES and Famicom.
Yeah.
So
does that mean you'll be able to just get discs from Japan directly before they're released in the US?
That's what I was thinking when I was getting that, when I was watching that. It was like, is there still going to be region specific games? Are there still going to be games that are now natively programmed and developed for like the Japanese market or the Chinese market or the European market or something like that? What is going to happen to that market now, since the region locking has been taken out of existence essentially from Nintendo's line of products?
I believe that it will still be a thing. I think it's always going to be a thing. There's always... I want to compare it to... you know what Chinko machines are, right?
Yeah.
So there used to be a ton here in America. And then they realized that more and more people in Asia and more eastern parts of Europe like them a lot more. So they started putting them out in those areas. I think if a game succeeds more in one area than the rest as like a line of games, then they're still going to be making them specifically for one area.
Yeah, but I'm hoping that even though they may say make a game for a specific area, someone outside that area could still get their hands on it, and the console wouldn't care and just let them play it. I'm hoping that's what this means from Nintendo.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping as well. So let's see. So like with the, I don't know, like it is kind of interesting. I haven't seen this barrier broken at all. Like, and PC's never really been region locked as far as I'm aware of. They've had government bans on certain games. Like, for instance, Hotline Miami 2 was banned in Australia, and then of course Devolver Digital just decided, hey, well, we'll give you a torrented version of it. Go ahead and go to the Pirate Bay and all that. But that's besides the point. It will be interesting to see how the how the market for the Switch shifts after this region lock,
or if other game companies will ensue.
Yeah.
Disable region locking for them. Yeah.
Well, not that will if a presentation for Project Scorpio or PlayStation's up and coming supposed 4K capable machine. I doubt that already. I doubt it's going to be native 4K.
The PS4 Pro?
No. The project after PS4 Pro. Because,
okay.
Yeah, I honestly doubt it's going to be a native 4K system, but that's besides the point.
I actually heard that Project Scorpio is being either canceled or delayed into the foreseeable future.
Probably, because when you think about it, and we're getting off topic here a little bit, but when you think about it, with the amount of horsepower in a sense you need in a graphical computing chip like that, it's insane.
And for the price point you're targeting.
Yeah, it's going to be next to impossible to do it. Like in order to get like 4K on most games and get it solid 60 FPS, you have to PC. You pretty much have to use a 1080.
No, you could. I've been done.
Have you been able to do it with like a 1070 or something?
Yeah, I was like when I used to have a 980, I could run in DSR 4K on some games.
Well, you were interesting.
It's still like over. Like you're still paying a price to get 4K. Mm-hmm. It's just
well, no. What I'm saying is getting that consistently stable 60 FPS. Like with Doom at 4K. Firstly, I already know that Doom is a very optimized game, at least from what I can tell. It's very well optimized so that like with a 1080, you're able to max out all the settings on that game, and you're able to run it at 4K, and it barely drops below 60. I believe the only time that it drops below 60 is whenever like you have an issue with like VSync or something like that. But we're getting ahead of ourselves here. Let's switch it up a little bit.
Let's go back to where we.
Yeah, let's reverse it. So Nintendo finally does paid online services.
Woohoo!
I honestly think that it's probably gonna be maybe $15 a month in the start.
Well, I'm curious what they're going to keep free and what parts of the online are going to be paid.
Yeah.
Like, are they still going to allow like you just to play multiplayer online and have the online paid subscription be like something like you get games discounted every month or something? I don't know what they're going to do. I hope that they keep multiplayer free, because the lack of being able to play multiplayer both on Xbox and does Sony do paid multiplayer now?
Sony's PSN has subscription fees for
I hope that they're not going to force you to pay to play with other people across the world.
Yeah. It's going to be extremely damning to their to Nintendo's infrastructure if they decide to go the same exact route that Microsoft and Sony have gone all these years. Mm-hmm. And to me anyways, I think that would be the number one thing that would kill Nintendo for me. And I think honestly that would be the one thing that would actually get me to stop playing Nintendo related games on their consoles at this point.
But I'm hoping the local multiplayer, you don't need that.
Oh yeah, no, if well, it shouldn't be behind a paywall. Like if they do that, that's pretty much like pulling Sheckelman's extreme right there. I'm going to walk in and kick you in the shekels.
I think that's pretty cool. You can have up to 8 people play together.
Yeah.
No, because then you could just like meet up in a park and play like rounds of Splatoon or something.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's really
cool.
That
was, oh my god.
So I'm curious now what's going to happen to the DS because of this.
Yeah, true.
Because they're really attacking that market right now.
They are. I don't think they were intending on attacking the 3DS market, but I think inevitably with how they were targeting this console / handheld, however you want to like judge it, I think it doesn't matter how hard you try. They're going to eventually just accidentally kill their own market for the 3DS. And I think it will probably become a more palpable situation to just get a Switch over a 3DS. Like, as much as I love the 3DS, it will inevitably become obsolete.
And then if the 3DS exclusive title series will be moved over to the Switch.
Yeah,
or
true.
Whatever, I don't know.
You were going to say something, weren't you?
It was back on the topic of the online.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
I was going to say that maybe if it does cost to play with other people, it might be a sign of good tidings for their horrible servers.
Yeah, true.
As in, most of the reason why their servers were and are so bad right now is because they're paying like the least amount that they possibly can for them.
Which in turn means they do as little maintenance on their servers as possible.
Yeah. What they're touting, like having party chat and then being able to take screenshots and eventually record your gameplay and then be able to share that. That's quite interesting.
That also kind of brings me to the kind of curious little thing that is called the capture button. why would I don't get it. Why would they do that? I mean, like, it's interesting in its sense, but why? Like, you could just set up a set of button combinations that could like capture it or something like that. Unless if it's something to do with the with like compatibility issues or something like that.
Well, it's certainly easier than like on the Xbox having the Kinect and say record that or
True.
Like, I don't think there's a native button on Xbox.
No,
Just lets you to capture the last minute or two of gameplay.
No, I think it's something like you have to double tap the home button or something stupid like that.
Mm-hmm.
But on that regard, I think it's honestly just they saw PlayStation and Xbox and they're like, oh, hey, people kind of like this being able to record on the spot thing. Maybe we can do that. But in my opinion, I think it's just an empty button placement that they set there because it's supposed to be its own controller. And the other one has like the home button. Yeah. They can't have two home buttons on two different on the same controller, right?
Just put another home button.
Did they get rid of the start button?
The start and minus buttons?
Yeah. It looks like they did. Yeah.
I'm a little skeptical about the little tiny analog stick on the top.
Well, no. Let's talk about the Joy-Cons in general, because even I'm kind of concerned about the size. Despite the fact that I have kind of small hands in a sense. I have small hands, I swear to you.
I have really fat hands.
Yeah, you have sausage fingers.
I could probably just, and my fingers are kind of long in a sense, so I could probably just put it in my hand and cover it up.
Also, it's funny because it's like, I noticed they switched the buttons and joystick on the right controller, so now it's more like an Xbox controller.
Yeah. I don't know
Quite
how
interesting.
to feel about that personally.
Because they did that both on the Pro Controller and the Joy-Con.
Yeah.
Which, like, I like the left one, I think it would work fine for like Mario Kart, but then the other one, your joystick's like smack dab in the middle of it, right next to those buttons. I don't know how that's going to work. Or like, again, it's another thing where you're not going to know how you feel about it until you actually get your hands on it.
Yeah, but I mean, like, even in the developers' hands, it was pretty small. Quite honestly,
it did. Especially that side. I did like the fact that you can like separate them and then just like play however you want, like on the couch.
Yeah. And I also did like the fact that they found a way to integrate the left and right triggers into the fucking rails themselves.
Yeah.
That was actually awesome. I wasn't anticipating that, but when I saw it, it's like, dude, that's friggin' awesome. I never would have thought of that. Now, of course, it kind of got me thinking when I was sitting there watching this on the TV, and I'm like, what if they had put the left and right triggers on the outside of them? You know, how would that work out? Would it be able to like act as like macro keys or something like that, or like what if they had done that? Would it work? Would it not? I don't know.
I don't think it would have worked for what they're trying to do with it, because their whole thing is you can use it like a Wii remote, or you can use it sideways like some other controller. And I think if they put the buttons on the top like you suggest, then that would just get in the way of their whole sideways control configuration.
I was referring to the sides.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like on the outside side grips and whatnot. But of course, then thinking about that, it does produce the issues of like if you like have a tight grip on it, then it does like trigger those buttons pretty easily.
Yeah.
At least theoretically.
Like kind of like the Steam controller, how it has those things in the back.
Oh yeah, the paddles.
The little paddle things that are super annoying when you're playing a game and you hit it on accident.
Yeah. Let's see, what else is there to talk about?
What do you guys think about the red and blue colors for the Joy-Con?
Dude,
I think they actually look pretty good. Dude. The increased price is kind of like,
Yeah, it does make you like shrivel up a little bit, but like as I kind of like put it into my notes, it's like these actually look pretty fucking cool. Like
on their own, they look cool. I think it looks a little silly to me when you put them on the gray Switch itself.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
That's just personal. Like
I kind of liked it on the Switch. It was a bit of a different. It's a bit of a different look to it, and it's kind of nice in my opinion. It's not exactly the best looking thing in the world, but it. Like, if you want to say, just get your hands on a red 3DS XL or a new 3DS XL, I would say that is probably a little bit.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah,
You can still get the gray versions if you're.
yeah. If you have like just money flowing out of your
Well, I
pocket
think
or something like
those two versions are going to be the same price.
Oh,
Yeah.
them by themselves are costing more than the gray ones.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
Wow.
that.
I guess that painting takes a lot. You know?
I don't know.
Yeah, it requires like an extra $40 for manufacturing.
I thought when I first saw it that I was like, are they trying to bring back like this is player 1, this is player 2? Because they could have gone with almost any colors.
Well, like, do you remember their little marketing spiel that they had at the beginning, where it's like they were saying it's like, oh, the Switch inherits all these features, from
All the DNA from past.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Nintendo
And so
consoles.
with the Famicom and NES, collectively they introduced 2-player games for the first time in the longest time that was actually a whole entertainment system that was complete and whatnot. You could say, anyways. But like, I'm wanting to say they supposedly inherited that from the NES and Famicom, but of course my mind thinks chances are they didn't inherit jack shit from from any of their previous consoles, and they just kind of went like, okay, what's the market like at the moment? This is what the market looks like. Okay, let's see what we can do.
I think they're trying to tout that nostalgia from some of their.
Yeah.
players.
No, and I even made notes on that, and it was like their marketing spiel very much kind of pulled at the heartstrings of nostalgia members, people who were very much familiar with all the old consoles and whatnot, all the popularity of the Famicom, the NES, Super NES, or the SNES, I should say. The N64, the
But
GameCube.
will it inherit virtual reality
God damn it!
I think that
from the Virtual Boy?
I honestly hopes that they try and fail and see how bad of an idea it is. Because I've been hearing rumors that they're like, oh, we're gonna sneak in, we're gonna try and do something with it, we're gonna add compatibility or something like that. I hope that they try and then they're like, no one likes this.
No one
wants
still
this.
likes it.
No,
Yeah.
okay. Like I think all three of us can agree that VR for PC at the moment still reigns supreme at least in my opinion.
You do need a lot of hardware to do it.
No,
properly.
don't get me wrong. You still need a metric whack ton of like technology to back your VR, but like still, I think hands down it would be much better than really anything console related. You know, trying to do VR on that. I haven't done the PSVR because I'm a spoiled little brat and had the experience with the Vive, but like that's besides the point. I kind of side with you. I really do hope that they don't actually go through
It's
with
the one console they don't want to inherit.
Yeah, that's the one thing they don't want to inherit. So let's see what else is there to talk about.
I thought it was interesting that they chose Type C for the charging port.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. Because since Type-C is very much known for power management and data transfer, it kind of causes me to think if they're going to try to work on simplifying the development process for it.
Well, I wonder, so could you use that Type-C port to connect it to a TV without needing the dock?
Yeah, that too.
Because technically it could support that.
Mm-hmm. But like my main thing with the Type-C connectors is that data transfer, because if you have the data transfer available to access and utilize, then theoretically you should be able to actually upload stuff to that console, and you should be able to pretty much like turn it into a giant dev tool, essentially.
And I also wonder how fast it will charge using that. Because a lot of devices with Type-C have they can charge in like an hour.
Yeah, because they have like quick charge 2.0 or something like that. Most recent quick charge.
I wonder if you could plug a 3-amp charger into it and charge it in like 45 minutes or something.
Yeah, which I think that's what they're trying to do.
That'd be great.
I'm wondering if the I think I saw it, the power Type-C, it has a power block on it, doesn't it?
I think it does have a wall wart. Yeah.
My problem with that is if you're trying to play when it's plugged in, if for one the cord's going to be long enough, because it looked kind of tiny in the when they had everything that's going to be with it. It looked to be maybe 5 feet.
But it'd be great if, like, because my phone uses Type-C, it'd be great if I could just use my phone charger with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that it'd be great if they're like, hey, any Type-C charger works with it. Because I use Type-C for my phone, too. Mm-hmm. But the problem I see with that is if it does have some sort of power brick or its own wall mount, then the power distribution can actually ruin the battery inside of the console itself.
I'd hope they don't, like, they're smart enough to
Yeah.
do that. Because, like, a charging port's a charging port. You just give it the right voltage. And, like, at this point, like, in our electronic saturated lives, like, you could, if you have, like, a charger for your phone, you just find the cable and a USB charger and it just works.
Because our lives are so saturated, we have to literally dip ourselves in electricity just to survive.
Like I have so many micro USB cables from everything.
Oh yeah,
it's crazy. But that would be great if you could just use, like, your phone charger or something to, or, like, say you're at your computer, just get a USB cable and plug it in. And it might not charge very fast, but it's there.
Keep it alive while you're playing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's see. I think that's about all that they really talked about in terms of, like, the tech part of it.
I want to talk about the tablet a little bit more.
Okay, yeah.
I really hope. I never personally had a Wii U, but I've lived with people who have Wii U's. You have a Wii U.
Yeah, you live with me right now.
Yeah. Tyler, who I lived with before, had a Wii U. Mm-hmm. I played it a lot for Smash, for Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I really hope the tablet is hardy and not as plasticky and light as the Wii U tablet was. Mm-hmm. And I hope, because I love physical copies of things.
Same.
The main thing I like about something I buy is you can really tell the quality by how heavy it is. If you get this, let's say a drone, and it's really light, you know it's going to be bad.
No. Or maybe it's just really efficient.
Yeah, and
I mean, as in like a competition drone.
Or
that's
I think
you know what's a good weight. If it's like plastic and really light, it's gonna be bad.
I think what you kind of are trying to get at, but I think you're misconstruing it a little bit, is the composition or the material composition of it.
Yeah, like how, like when you attach those Joy-Cons, will they be like really
will they
solid
have flex
or
or something like that? Yeah. Because if the Switch is made out of like an aluminum alloy casing or something, then it should be pretty high quality, quite frankly. Especially if they like find ways to do shock absorbing, like implement a shock absorbent into it or something like that.
I've also wondered about the Joy-Cons, about when they connect to the side, do they actually lock in place? Are they really firm?
Yeah,
because I play vertically. I don't play like this. This is really uncomfortable for me. I usually just do this because that's the way your hands are supposed, like straight. If I'm holding it like this and I'm watching the TV or something, or even have it in my hands and I shake a little bit, I don't want it to just like
drop out,
shake in my hands.
So you know how the Joy-Cons have that plus and minus on the left and rights? Okay, those are the locking mechanism for it. So essentially what you can essentially what those are supposed to do is that they're supposed to keep it in place. Ooh. But yeah, no, I do see your concern with that one, and I guess we'll just have to see.
Yeah, I don't want to finally get my hands on it and then like attach them to the side and feel them like really loose and shaking around on it.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd probably just ruin it. I'd probably never even play on that unless I have them in my hand and the screen's right there.
You know, it's quite fitting that with my hat that I had actually just gotten today, that I put all my Mario pins on it, because I actually kind of want to try to move over to the software, or at least the games and whatnot. So I kind of want to talk about Mario Odyssey to talk about, just to start, because that's the first one that is like it's a legitimate new addition to the IP itself.
Yeah, it's not just a Super Mario World. It's like Sunshine and 64.
Yeah. Well, no, and even when I was watching the presentation, it looked like they were
just a Mario sandbox is what they described it as.
Yeah, it looked like it was supposed to be a successor to Mario 64 and Sunshine, or Sunshine, I should say. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, like the game is interesting. I think we all can agree Bowser is probably a pimp in this game now.
I think he looks pretty cool as a pimp.
Yeah, he does. I'll give him that. He
looks cool regardless, but
yeah,
super pimp.
I think that is it Super Mario Odyssey or just Mario Odyssey?
Super Mario Odyssey.
All right. I think they might be trying to do a dual release for the Wii U and the Switch for it. Because a lot of the time, when he finally brought out the hat and he's like, you notice it has eyes on it. He's like, this is exclusive to the Switch. If you have a Switch, then the hat's going to change. And I think that that's a hint, as in it's going to be on a different platform as well. And the only one I could think of is the Wii U. I mean, if they could somehow cram that onto the 3DS, that'd be fine with me. I'll just like bring that with me everywhere. But
yeah, well, I mean, like for those who are going to be early adopters of the Switch, like chances are you and I are probably going to be early adopters of the Switch, Kevin, and maybe even you, Cullen. I don't know. Like I intend on being an early adopter myself, but I think it kind of defeats the purpose of having that double release if like majority of the people buy the Switch anyways.
But also like that game's supposed to come out in the holiday season of 2017.
Yeah.
So it's like will Nintendo still care about the Wii U at that point? 'Cause
exactly.
The Switch is going to release in like a couple months. So
and it does kind of depend on how their numbers say when the initial numbers for this console come in.
But what do you guys think about the worlds in Odyssey?
Oh, they actually look pretty fucking awesome. Personally, I like them. The city is a bit weird. It very much mimics modern day Manhattan. It's very obvious. If you haven't noticed that, shame on you, quite frankly. But like, it's a bit weird, quite frankly. Or I say quite frankly a lot. I should like start putting a nickel in the jar for every single time I say quite frankly.
Yeah, it looks like something out of Sonic 06.
Why would you say that?
Because it's the same art style. It's like you have a cartoon character in like a realistic like drab city. It's like what looks so funny is that city is like the odd one out because then they showed like the forest level that seemed fitting, and then they showed that cooking land, and that seemed very Mario-esque.
The desert world.
And the desert, like the buildings definitely seemed like a Mario-esque game, like something like from Toad's Harbor in Mario Kart, you know?
Yeah, well, this will be. I am quite grateful of this. That this will be a game that doesn't take place in the Mushroom Kingdom again. I'm glad.
I have a theory about it. The building helicopter, whatever you want to call it, sailing ship thing that he rides on.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's going to be kind of like a mix of 64 and Galaxy in that sense. The ship might be like a hub, and I don't know why he came from the sewer in the city. It's probably because he's a plumber, and they're like, haha, funny joke.
He's a filthy crocodile.
And it might be that he got sucked into this different world, and that's why he's in like real world-esque areas.
Are you referring to something similar to Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, like kind of plot progression?
Sort of. Also kind of like the paintings in 64.
Okay.
I know they described it as Mario's journeying to these unknown worlds from the Mushroom Kingdom. So it's like
he magically just kind of like goes into infinite snake eating asshole whatever, and he just winds up in a new world randomly.
I think also you guys were talking about Pimp Bowser.
Yeah.
I think he's going to change themes depending on which area you're at. That seems likely. Well, I want to see Bowser in a sombrero.
I thought it was interesting that, like, in the forest level, they showed that, like, really old structure that he was, like, jumping off of and stuff. And then they had this other place. It was, like, it almost looked like he was on like a desolate world and had this giant like temple coming out of it. I'm just curious what the whole like story between him and Bowser is going to be, if like all these different worlds are there. Like, are they going to be, because I know they showed like some boss battles and stuff. I don't know if they're going to have like 64 level where you go to these different worlds, fight a mini boss, and then you eventually get to Bowser. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, quite frankly. Nonetheless, though, like, I've seen a few people complain about the graphics on like some of the demo reels that they've had for the game and whatnot, and I'd say like I don't think people really realize what they're talking about. Like, this game actually looks surprisingly good in compare. If you were to like say render this out for Wii U and then render it out for a Switch, I think you could probably say that it is that on the Wii U. I think chances are it would be like very much downgraded. It'd look a lot like, well, what you would expect out of a Mario game. It would be a lot of static animations and whatnot, and very few like dynamic moving objects and whatnot.
Well, it looks kind of like a Mario Kart 8 does on the Wii U, where it looks like very pretty and they have all their nice like bloom and stuff going on.
Yeah.
I think it's just like a slight upgrade from that because the Switch has a little bit more processing power.
Yeah.
I made this connection yesterday. He was talking about it, and I was like, hey, do you remember those videos online of Super Mario 64 and Unreal Engine 4? I thought it looked exactly like that.
Yeah. Oh, no, and like when you actually look at Mario closely, holy shit.
They do have a lot of texture detail.
Oh, God,
yeah, that's
the detail is impressive.
I don't know why, but when he takes his hat off, I like the detail they put into his hair.
Yeah.
Instead of just like little round clumps, it's actual like style.
It
now.
actually looks like they have hair
over.
physics, and they just and the engine that they're using for their modeling and whatnot, they just decide to take whatever chunks of hair that they need to and bind it together or something like that with like a with like wireframe or something like that. I don't know.
On the topic of Mario's head, it seemed like his hat was a really big deal.
Yeah, he was like using it to traverse some of the areas.
I think that will probably be one of the like biggest kind of mechanics that they add to the game is the hat throwing with that.
I think it's going to be more along the lines of like Minish Cap, as in they showed it with eyes, so obviously it's probably going to talk to him at some point.
Sentient! Oh my god!
And then there's this clip that they show for almost half a second of Bowser just destroying the hat. I think he might be linked to it in some way, and that might have hurt him. Because otherwise, why would Bowser just take his hat and be like, haha, you don't need this?
What happened to his old hat? Or did his hat just like get magic radioactivity? And
I mean,
he went he accidentally teleported it into the Fallout world and it decided to mutate.
Well, I mean, in all the games, the hats have been a really big deal. You can't get all the stars in 64 without the steel hat or the hat with wings on it. You can get different hats to turn into different characters sometimes.
Maybe his hat's been alive all this time since 64 and we haven't known.
Whoa.
Also, in 64, you could lose your hat. I remember that. And it like gave you less health to lose in the newer version for the DS. That's the one I played the most. I think maybe that you can lose your hat in some points in the new game, and it might detriment you in some way.
Plays Mario N64 for DS. Psh, what a loser.
Whatever.
Loser. Gotta have some cheeky banter every now and again, yeah? Anyways, fucking aside from that, like, I don't know. Would you guys say it'd be worth buying and actually playing, or?
I think it'd be fun playing.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun.
I mean, I enjoyed Sunshine and 64.
Sunshine was my favorite open world Mario game.
Well, let's actually get into a launch title that is kind of interesting. The 1-2 Switch.
Uh-huh.
What were you guys' thought on that?
It's an interesting game because you don't play it looking at a screen.
I think in my personal opinion,
Well, your personal opinion is shit.
It's a waste of memory on the Switch. It
Mm-hmm.
looks so dumb. I think, know those games you see on the Wii shop that are made by like
8-year-olds.
yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of those.
Well-
like you'd browse through the shop and you'd look at it and be like, "Oh, that seems kind of cool." But if they're going to be selling it for almost full price, I don't think it's going to be worth it.
I think it's more kind of like
It's
a
like
game where it's like it's going to be cute like when you get it and then play it for like first couple of times. It's going to be like, this is pretty cute, and then the novelty might wear off, and then you go back to more like ground.
I think it's kind of like Cards Against. It's pretty much Cards Against Humanity when you think about it. It's a party game. It's designed
for two people.
For two people, but it's like a party game that acts
Yeah,
as
so
an
you can switch
icebreaker.
between people. Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, and I believe Cullen, you and I, when we were in Summit, there were a couple times where you and I like didn't have any classes or something like that, and we'd end up just like going to the janitor's office, and I'd have my Cards Against Humanity on me, and we'd get like 4 or 5 people that you didn't like know shit about,
Yeah.
and we'd all just sit down and play, and it was pretty much a giant icebreaker. I think it would be good in that sense.
Well, so here's what I'm thinking: like, how many controllers can you hook up to this system at once?
That's
Because
yeah.
like with the Wii U, you could do like 8 controllers for Smash, and that's like a really good party game because then you get 8 people playing at the same time, which
Yeah.
gets pretty chaotic. I don't know if you can do can you do legacy controllers? Can you like still use old controllers from your Wii or your Wii U or?
Well, I think much like the backwards compatibility with Wii U discs to the Switch and whatnot, I think we're gonna have issues utilizing older components.
Well, is the Switch going to be backwards compatible?
No, it's not going to be backwards compatible. At least from most notable, like your hardware, the physical copies and whatnot. Obviously, you're not going to be backwards compatible, but with software and whatnot, there might be some backwards compatibility.
But I don't want to rebuy some of my Wii U games just to play on my Switch.
Exactly.
Like, I already own the disc. Like, why can't I play it on the console?
And, like, that's kind of something I hope that they find a way to bring the compatibility of the Wii U to the Switch, and allows us to actually play Wii U games on the Switch, like either through a method of like entering serial codes online and actually getting download codes for the Switch or something like that. I don't know. I kind of want to be able to play my Wii U games on a Switch as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, it would allow me to kind of migrate everything, you could say, over to a Switch, but of course, then you lose the opportunity of playing Wii games and GameCube games and so on and so forth because you don't have compatibility with it. But like that, you win some, you lose some. All hardware ends up becoming obsolete at one point, so it's whatever.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that 1-2 Switch is gonna be the new Wii Sports.
You say that because you found it online, Kevin. Come on, step it up.
No. Wait. No. Yeah, no. I just thought of that.
No, I did see something online that said something along those lines. At least on my end, at least.
Oh, well, I was just going off of how it's going to be like what you said.
Kind of more like a tech demo for the motion tracking capabilities of those Joy-Cons. Kind of like Wii Sports with the Wii Remote.
Yeah. I think it's much like the VR community, where it's a lot of where like this game in particular is more of a tech demo. It's more of a tech demo designed to just showcase what the Switch is capable of, and just how finely tuned it is for say.
Okay.
So, I guess let's switch into another title. We all saw Arms, right? Okay. Kevin and I, you and I agreed it's Rock'em Sock'em Robots, but with extendable arms.
Yeah.
I'm just the translators, dude. Let's talk. Well, let's actually talk real quick about some of the translators for the for these poor Japanese people that had to get on stage and talk. So, with one of the other titles that we'll make mention of very soon, it sounded like the developer was just like dead on the inside, and he also looked dead on the inside when he was on the stage. So I did feel sorry for him, but it was hilarious to watch. And then with Arms, the translator for that, he was over enthusiastic at some points, which is good for enthusiasm, but like it was like the whole extendable arms.
Oh yeah.
Well, so you think Arms is going to become like something like Rocket League or Super Smash Bros. For like a brawl tournament kind of game?
I'm gonna make the obvious alignment and say it's gonna be like Pokken Tournament. In the case of where you have a limited number of fighters and a limited number of things that you can do. I mean, that's the same with every fighting game, but it looks a little too limited. It looks like a fun idea. It looks like they got it down to the bone and they got it like it would be fun to play. But I think it also falls into the category of like, oh, I'll play this a little bit longer than 1-2 Switch. But when I get a really in-depth game like Mario, then I'll just switch over to that and play it for a while.
Yeah, like in terms of competitiveness, I see it there, but I really don't think it would stand the test of time. Like, they would have to be perpetually updating it and actually expanding upon it. They can't just throw out the game in its current state and just accept it for what it is. I feel as though that they need to keep on trying to find ways to expand upon it, develop the community, much like the Splatoon community.
Well, I think those are two different games. I think it's something more like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat.
I'm referring to like the competitive side of it. So like, you know how Splatoon has that extremely competitive side of it, or at least the original Splatoon.
But like, I know the developer was saying like you can uncover these cool new strategies as you learn to play the game.
Yeah.
And I guess it's kind of like then it turns into you mastering those strategies so you can beat the crap out of anyone else.
Yeah, but like I'd say like we should all just give that game a chance at least to see how it kind of pans out, and if it loses its charm before the competitive scene can actually develop for it, then I will go ahead and say that it will probably not last more than like 2 years. But of course that's if the competitive scene can't develop soon enough. But so the advertisement that they used for the game specifically, what did you guys think about that? 'Cause
for both 1-2 Switch and that game, they're very, very. It's like it felt to me like it was kind of funny.
Yeah,
how dramatic they were, and then it just degrades. Like, but I thought 1-2 Switch kind of used that to its advantage. Like, oh hey, Wild West Showdown. Oh wait, they're just playing a stupid game.
Yeah.
But then Arms felt more like this is really hard and like stuff. I don't know. It
like
felt interesting
with the commercial. So like the advertisement for Arms, it was essentially a Caucasian male and an Asian female. And it was very much, it felt very much like a Japanese commercial. It was weird. It was one of those where it's just like, you kind of sit there and you like, what the fuck is going on here?
I think that they took a lot from the Smash 4 commercials.
With like, Magic Fisume and Satoru Iwata?
Yeah, we're like, there'd be this little kid on the bus, and he's like, I want to sit there, and the big burly man's like, settle it in Smash. And he brings out like a 3DS, and I'm like, hey, Arms is kind of like that, like this big buff dude and this little tiny girl, and they're like evenly matched in this fighting game.
It was just, the commercial was weird in general, but it did have its charm. Like, you knew for a fact that it was made by a bunch of Japanese people, because it had that charm to it that you just don't find in a lot of other commercials, you could say. And people can sit there and be biased, or I shouldn't say be biased. They can discriminate me for saying that. It's like, oh, you're stereotyping the community. I'm like, if no one's seen Japanese commercials, I will say it right now. Japanese commercials are naturally weird. They have their own flair to it. And some of it is actually pretty charming, and some of it's just flat out weird. And you don't know what's going on a lot of the times. Cullen and I can attest to that one for the most part because we spent many a years in a classroom watching Japanese advertisements with our Japanese instructor. God damn. Okay, so let's see what else. So with 1-2 Switch and ARMS, like me personally, I do think that the implementation of the Joy-Cons for those games specifically are very interesting, you could say. It kind of breaks a traditional sense in what you could define as a controller, and it just kind of seems to be a bit creative in its own way.
Well, ARMS just seems like an expansion of that Wii Sports boxing game with the nunchuck and Wiimote that you used.
Yeah, but it does. I feel as though it does a bit more to.
Giving you the freedom to move around. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, and you have the, of course, combo abilities and whatnot. Unlike boxing, where it's traditional boxing, you can do chained left hooks, right hooks, counter punches and whatnot. But
you're shooting your hand at them.
Yeah, extendable arms. But let's see. Of course. They were saying that it was going to be released sometime in the springtime. So I'm going to go ahead and make the guess right now. Chances are they're probably going to be releasing that one in May. I doubt they're going to be releasing it as a second launch title because I think they've already gotten their ballot pretty well filled with some pretty decent launch titles, you could say. But God, yeah. And also, I even made this note in my document. Springman 1, I guess. Domestic abuse for the win.
I like how when they showed gameplay, the announcer's like, "A Springman's on the ropes," and he has full health, and he's just like wailing on the other person.
Yeah,
I'm like,
and he's
that's on the ropes.
That's totally on the ropes, dude. I guess let's switch gears to one that I know. Yep. Gotta remember to do that. Switch. So let's switch it up to God damn it, you guys. Let's switch it up to a game. Fuck off. I need to stop saying that. So, Splatoon 2. Shut up, Cullen.
I haven't said it.
I'm gonna start out with Splatoon as in I'm probably not going to say a lot. I didn't play the first game very much, so I don't have very hearty views on it.
I mean, I regret not playing enough of Splatoon, the original one. I still have the game sitting at my house, and I regret not playing more of it, because Splatoon, at least in its original, the original rendition, was amazing. I loved it. It was so much fun. I will agree with Kevin right now when I say that the community is pretty cancer. It's not a fun community to be around, because it's usually like a bunch of kids or edgy meme lords that kind of like circle jerk on the characters within the game and whatnot. And it makes you feel like you're talking to a bunch of weeaboos, which we all know how that's like. As you look at me, Kevin.
I looked at myself.
Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that?
I think it's kind of cool what they're doing. I'm going to make a really weird connection between these two, because they're nothing alike, except for the sense of, like you said before, they're going to be updating the game with new merchandise, you could say. New add-ons and stuff. I'm going to go ahead and try and compare it to Destiny, because by the way they're advertising the way the add-ons, and like we're going to try to keep it alive for as long as possible, is basically what I got for it. That's almost exactly what Destiny's launch advertisement was. Like, we're going to update the game over and over. You're going to be able to play it for as long as you can. What I'm afraid of, though, is that it's going to be paid DLC for Splatoon 2.
Well, let's see. I would kind of have to argue against that, mainly because of my experience with Splatoon, and that any updates that they did to the game were completely free of charge. They did add a lot more content to the base game, and I'm assuming that they're going to be adding even more when Splatoon 2 comes out. But, like, me personally, I think you're kind of wrong there. I don't think they will be doing paid DLC there. I think they kind of have their work cut out for, or at least Nintendo in terms of their royalty fees for being a publisher for that game specifically. I think they have their work kind of cut out for them for the paid online services that they have that they're going to be bringing up and whatnot if, everyone decides to buy that for whatever reason. Like, again, we don't know what the paid services are going to be like, so we'll just see with that one. But anyways,
I mean, I didn't play the original Splatoon, but I assume that this is going to be a game where if you enjoyed the first one, you're probably going to enjoy this one.
Yeah,
and especially since you can now play locally with your friends who have all have Switch consoles, I think that'll be like somewhat better because then you could like just get together with your Switches and then. I'd like
to point out though that when the Switch reveal was originally released, everyone in the community, in the Nintendo community, pretty much guessed on the spot that Splatoon 2 was going to be on the Switch. There was no indication that there was actually going to be a second Splatoon, and that there was no indication that any of it was going to happen. Everyone guessed it, and everyone guessed it correctly. And, like, that's amazing, in my opinion, that everyone was able to get that one so quickly. And so, like...
Well, Splatoon, I think, was a huge deal on the Wii U. They had that whole, Splatfest thing.
Yeah, and I think even, like, the idea of Splatoon 2 being a thing was furthermore supported by, when they did end the Splatfest. Because they did end them at, like, September or something. And then, of course, like, about a month and a half later, they had the Switch reveal, which I think only helped the community understand it more on what was going on specifically. But, like, still, nonetheless, I wasn't even impressed at how quickly the community had gotten it. Because I was holding some skepticisms back about there being a second Splatoon. Of course, I'm always being skeptical about everything. Like, let's be honest, every single topic I believe that we've talked about thus far has essentially been skepticism from my side. It's been a lot of skepticism, a lot of concerns, but all the same, a lot of hope. But of course, moving on to that, the one thing that I do hope, and I hope more than anything that they will try to find ways to improve the game even more in terms of like graphical update, because they'll have the hardware available to do it. Like when Splatoon was on the Wii U, it was 1080p, 60 FPS all the time. Like, there was no frame dips that I had noticed immediately. And, like, it all looked beautiful. But with the new hardware, I'm interested in seeing on how they're going to utilize that hardware. On whether or not it's going to be, if they're going to actually improve some of the physics in it or what. So, I don't know. Like, what do you guys think about it other than that?
I think mainly the only thing that I would assume would happen is they increase the graphical quality, as well as the add-ons, the additional Squid Kids, whatever they're called, the characters. I realize that they're like, hey, there's 4 new ones. There's 4 new types. I don't know if that's actually going to branch out and there's like going to be new classes. I believe there are.
It's more like you have the characters and you can design them, the squidlings and whatnot. You can have your multiculturalism if you feel like, as it was very prevalent in the original Splatoon that they did allow for multiculturalism in that game, which I have no problems with, by the way.
I think mainly they're just probably going to add more effects because they have the processing
more
power
effects,
to do it.
probably more items to the games. They're probably going to, at one point or another, subdivide a single wall some 500,000 times for more polygons, more realistic effects.
I mean, personally, I like going up to a wall in a video game and not like seeing the texture as like just one plain like flat wall that looks good from a distance. Yeah. I like going up and be like, this brick looks like a brick. So, if they do that with Splatoon 2, I'd be totally fine with that.
Well, what they I'm hoping that they just in the end at least update the texture so that it's a high quality texture. Because even with the Wii U, they did have high quality textures, but it was only to an extent. So like I'm hoping that they make it look a little bit more detailed and whatnot, so that they can just make the game look beautiful as it should be. Because if it doesn't look beautiful, I'm sure that the Splatoon fanboys and fangirls are going to riot in the streets over it. And I'm sure they're going to want to rip anyone's necks out or some wacky shenanigans like that. So I'd say let's switch from Splatoon 2 and kind of fuck off and just briefly kind of go over Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Like, I don't think any of us here have played Xenoblade. You've played Xenoblade?
A little bit. I didn't beat the game. I got around a third through.
How did you feel about Xenoblade originally?
I thought Xenoblade wasn't that bad. I think it's weird where they're taking it. These characters, there's a couple new ones that I don't know how to feel about. Yeah. The girl you saw in the trailer that's like, I love this planet because you're on it. I hate that. I hate that so much.
Oh, just the idea of having like a love story all embedded in that game.
Yeah, I mean, if I want a love story, I'm going to...
You're going to go play a goddamn dating simulator.
Or something.
Mass Effect.
Mass Effect.
Mass Effect.
Mass Effect Andromeda. No. I think they might be putting it in the right-ish direction. I don't know about the characters, though. That's my main...
Well, the way I see Xenoblade at this point in time is that if you like the game, or if you liked any of the Xenoblade games, you'll most definitely like this. You'll probably like this game. Chances are. If you weren't a fan of it like I am, I'm not a fan of the game. I'm not a huge fan of it, to be fair. The soundtracks are amazing, but I just don't like the game. Then, essentially, it's just a game to just leave alone. It's not really worth like getting all hyped up over it. It's the Xenoblade. If you're not a fan, you're not a fan. If you're a fan, well, good for you.
It definitely looks a lot better than Xenoblade Chronicles. I don't know how I feel about the camera approach. I don't know if you caught on to it. It was really buggy. In Xenoblade and Xenoblade Chronicles, the camera was like my favorite part of controlling the character, because when you locked on, the camera moved exactly to where the character is. Some of the combat that I saw, the little tiny bit that they put in there, he locked on and it showed a couple frames of him like dashing around. The camera jutted really badly. I hope they fix that. Obviously, they're probably already on it, but that's another thing I'm worried about is the controls in the camera, because that's a big part of the game.
Well, like if the camera ends up getting like centered on the main character's ass or whatever, then I'm sure every single SJW and freaking feminist or whatever is going to go like, "Oh my god, that's sexist! Why do you have the camera centered on his ass like that?" You know, pretty much like the same situation with freaking Bayonetta 2, except it's with a dude. Or no, when you think about it, probably feminists would be like, "Oh my god, that ass is delectable."
It's like, whoops, I put in camera distance as 2 and not 20.
Shit.
Gotta rebuild the entire game.
Yeah, pretty much. So I'm not going to really spend too much time on Xenoblade. Like, I'm definitely going to be checking out the soundtrack, but chances are I'll never play the game. It's not for me. But like, I guess we can briefly, briefly go over Fire Emblem Warriors, at least. Like, it's Dynasty.
If there's anything to go over.
No, not really. It's Dynasty Warriors, but Fire Emblem. It's pretty much the same scenario with Hyrule Warriors. Now, I will say Hyrule Warriors, both for the Wii U and 3DS, I played both of them. I liked I liked them. I liked Hyrule Warriors. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I like it.
I think it's a good game to play when you're bored, you have nothing else to do, and you just want some dumb slaughterhouse fun.
Yeah.
Because you don't go to Dynasty Warriors and Hyrule Warriors for the plot. You go there because you can kill a ton of stuff in really flashy ways.
Well, I can kind of argue with you on the plot somewhat. Like, with Hyrule Warriors, they did actually have a pretty well-structured story. But it wasn't... It was kind of like your... It was kind of like your baseline Zelda or Legend of Zelda story, in a sense, where you pretty much... You're the hero of time or hero of whatever the hell you want to be the hero of. You're pretty much like next to nothing, and then by the end of the game, you're pretty much like, oh my god, I'm the damn legends of this world. Bow down before me, my filthy peasants.
Yeah, the way I see those kind of games is most games are structured as in, if you imagine it, timeline. The line itself is the plot, and then the gameplay's supposed to go around that.
Yeah.
Dynasty Warriors, Hyrule Warriors, any Warriors-esque game, for me, feels like, here's the fighting, here's some plot, too, on the top. Like, you can have some of that, but that's not what the game's about.
Yeah, and I mean, like, with Fire Emblem Warriors, he didn't really give a whole lot on the game. Chances are either Lucina or Chrom, or both for that matter, will probably be playable characters in the game at one point or another. I think that's pretty obvious, but like, I'm going to go ahead and make the guess that it will probably not be available until winter of 2018 or spring of 2018. Sometime in that time frame, if you want to say, unless E3 or PAX says otherwise.
Yeah, it was a very limited trailer.
Yeah.
It had who I believe is Chrom.
Yeah, it looked like judging by the kind of model itself, it was Chrom most likely from Awakening, and so like I said, chances are Chrom and Lucina are going to be in that game because it also looked like you had Marth, Ike, and other characters of all the other Fire Emblem games that are going to be in that.
Yeah, it kind of, that little portion at the end kind of reminded me of the cutscenes from the newer Fire Emblem games.
Which one specifically, Awakening or the Conquest and Birthright?
Conquest and Birthright.
Okay, yeah, no, I see what you mean. But like, even then, with the fact that they used Chrom for that model, it reminded me very much of the cutscenes of Awakening, actually. And I'll admit it right now. Like, Awakening was probably one of the most emotional games I had played. I don't think I had to like hold back my emotions that much, but I did because it was, oh my god. I could probably sit here for like another 2-3 hours just fucking praising those games for their story, because their stories they're amazing. Of course, like, you could probably argue about Birthright and Conquest, but like, I get the whole two separation game can be kind of frustrating, but it's still nonetheless, it's still a beautiful game. So let's switch it up. Did you guys ever play any of the Dragon Quest games?
Yes.
Okay. What are your thoughts on Dragon Quest coming to the Switch?
I am trying to keep an open mind about it. I don't know how they're going to handle it.
Yeah.
But I hope they do it justice. That's the only thing. With Xenoblade, I wasn't too into it because, as I said, I only played about a third of it. But I put a lot of hours into the original Dragon Quest, Dragon Quest 4, and then I don't know if you guys tried Builder, the newest one that came out. That's actually a pretty decent game. It doesn't flow with the story too much. It's just mainly like you can build stuff, you can fight stuff, blah blah blah. But the games that they're bringing to the Switch, I just hope that they fit it well enough to where it doesn't feel awkward and new. I hope their whole, like, it has the DNA of the past consoles. I hope that it brings out some of that. Like, when you play it, you're like, oh man, this is like how it used to be.
Yeah. Okay. I've never played a single Dragon Quest, but me personally, it is kind of enticing to play it, and all the same not, because again, I've never played a single Dragon Quest. I don't know what the game is like. And like, quite frankly, I'm a little bit on the fence at the moment. Like, I'd give it time. I'd say I'm gonna give it time before I pick up any of those games. You know, let the reviews come in, and if they are good, then I'll pick it up and play it. Like, shit. But like, there wasn't really much to talk about in terms of that one. They kind of brushed over it a little bit and didn't really talk too much about it, at least from what I could recall from the presentation itself. I'm assuming with the Treehouse Live event, they probably talked a little bit about it.
They didn't really talk about it. They showed it for a little bit.
Yeah.
From what I could see, they pretty much had people playing and then interviewed them a little bit. So They were like, how did the game play? Did you like it? Blah, blah, blah. And they're usually like, yeah, it was okay. And that, you know, I'm like, oh, I hope it's actually okay. And not just like, oh, I'm on camera, I got to say it's good.
Yeah.
It only showed very small tidbits of it.
Okay, so chances are it's probably like early alphas or something like that.
Yeah.
So we probably won't see anything else about that game until E3 or PAX.
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
Well, if Nintendo goes to E3.
Well, dude, you know E3. You know they're going to be going to E3.
Hopefully.
Like,
they might just do what they've done before and be like, hey, you know all this cool stuff we showed you a few months back? Mystery.
Well, like,
intrigue.
You do have to remember that the last few E3s were kind of in a bit of a shamble, because Satoru Iwata was kind of on his deathbed at that point, which I wouldn't be too surprised if it kind of made it a little difficult to try to, you know, have the E3 events going on, because, you know, they have a CEO that's currently dying. And then, of course, just randomly, I believe it was the weekend after E3. No, it wasn't the weekend after. It was a month after E3 took place. You know, just he up and dies and whatnot, which is sad. And I do feel, and this is kind of getting off topic from like the software and whatnot, but with Satoru Iwata, I do feel like his death was a bit necessary. As horrible as that is to say, in some regards, it was kind of necessary, because he took control of that position, 2001 or something like that. It was a while back when he finally became CEO of that company, but like he did his fair share of revolutionary things. His ideas were amazing, and the products that he created from that were amazing. But of course, we have to consider that people can only be so good for ever so long, and it was becoming kind of obvious, despite the fact that Satoru Iwata was very personable. You could actually relate to him in so many ways, and he was just in general an enjoyable person to watch and, you know, be around and whatnot.
I mean, funny thing, I think this is just a coincidence, but the Switch to me looks very different from any Nintendo console that's come out recently.
Yeah,
because like the Wii U had a similar styling to the Wii. My phone fell.
Rip.
And like the like it's kind of like the 3DS, the original 3DS when it came out. It's very like sleek and like kind of more modern, instead of being like, yay, big plastic, woohoo.
Yeah, I noticed that too. When they show it on like the counter connected to the TV and stuff, if someone has a Wii U, you're gonna walk in and be like,
that's definitely Nintendo.
That's Nintendo.
That's
but
Wii
like
U, but
with the Switch, if it's sitting there and like you just have it like backed up to the wall or something, you can walk by it and it'll just look like it's there.
Yeah.
It doesn't stand out too much, in which I like a lot.
I'm a fan of the new kind of just.
I mean, like the design for the Switch, it's very intriguing. It's different. It breaks the common formula of what Nintendo has been very much used to. It's been very out there, very notable and all that. And just now it's very neutral, laid back. It's almost like an Xbox or a PlayStation in a sense, where it can blend into the environment and you can pretty much walk by it and never know it was there.
So that was just a off-topic coincidence.
Yeah. But, like, just quickly getting back to Satoru Iwata to wrap that one up and then move on. Like, at one point or another, he probably needed to have given his powers up and let someone else... and let someone else take that position and be the main person to deal with it. And I think in some sense, like, his death was kind of necessary. Again, as horrifying as that is to say, there has to be kind of a reality, and Nintendo needed to get their market back up and running again, because after the Wii U, I think it's safe to say that their market, their game development industry was having a bit of issues, you could say.
I have no idea what Nintendo would have done if Satoru Iwata was still alive today.
Yeah, and
I don't know if this is they turned after his death and went a different direction.
Yeah,
and are going to keep
like
going a different direction.
Me saying that is a bit of speculation, you could say, into how this all kind of fell into place. And I'm sure I'm going to have people that are going to ostracize me for saying that, but like in business, you do have to progress with the company. You do have to progress with the market, and if you don't, you end up getting left behind, and you become a shell of what you once were. So that's just my opinion on it. So do any of you guys even like want to talk about Octopath Traveler or Sonic Mania or anything like that?
Sonic Mania a little bit.
Okay, so let's switch to Sonic Mania then, because like I'm just gonna make it very brief with Octopath Traveler. Never heard of it, don't even know about it. At the moment, I really don't care unless more information gets on.
I think it looked pretty cool with the 3D NES style graphics.
Yeah, but until more information is given about that, I don't care too much. Shin Megami Tensei, the teaser for that looked fucking amazing. I'll say that right now. But I don't care enough about it to do something about it. Until I get more information about that, I'm not going to care what it is. Now, with Sonic Mania, what was it that you were wanting to talk about?
Okay, so main thing, I think it's funny. It's like Sega. Here's their character that tried to rival ours years and years ago and still tried a bit. But guess what? Now we have him. And I think it's great that they're going back to 2D because they did the whole sequence of like, he's been great through the years. I'm glad they didn't show Sonic Boom or any of the newer ones like Sonic Knight or whatever it was.
Here's your consequences, have actions!
Yeah, like Sonic 06. They did show Sonic Adventure 2 with the Escape from the City, which, you know, most people like mainly because of the song, but it did have good level design, I'll be honest. But I'm glad that they've really listened to the community and they're like, no one wants a 3D Sonic game anymore. They want the original 2D Sonic Adventure kind of game.
They don't want Sonic to be shit anymore, is what they're saying.
I think Sega's like, all right, 3D Sonics have been buggy as hell for the past like
Sonic
5-10 years
for the longest
Let's
time.
just go back to what worked and what's super simple.
Yeah. And I even in my notes for Sonic Mania, the only thing that I put under Sonic Mania was that Sega pretty much gets cucked with this presentation.
Well, I mean, it's like, kind of an easy route for them to get back on their feet without making a new console.
Well, I say that in terms of how you kind of like structured your statement there with like, oh yeah, like Sega, we have this character that was rivaling you, but haha, now he's on the Switch and all that.
Yeah, you know, I think it's funny that Sega's also as well appealing to nostalgia. Because remember, Nintendo was like, oh, hey, remember the NES and the Super NES, how you guys loved those?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like all the people who had the Genesis back then are like, hey, I remember Sonic. I loved that
game. I remember when the game was actually good and didn't have very, very no designs and stories and themes and whatnot. Sonic 06, anyone? Ha ha ha.
Oh man, they showed the really, really bad Sonic racing game. I don't know why. Did you guys
talking
catch
about
that?
Sonic R, the one that JonTron like
They showed that for a second, and I was like,
Oh.
wait a second, something's not right here.
It was him. He was the iceberg all along.
But I'm excited for it. I think it looks fun. It kind of reminds me of fan remakes of old classical games, except they're kind of embracing it now.
You want to know the one thing that I want before we actually move on from this subject onto the next chunk of software? I want them to actually make a decent Metroid game if possible.
Was the last one for Wii
Or
or for 3DS?
So the most recent one, Metroid Prime Federations, was for the 3DS, and I played a little bit of it. Like, forgettable. It really wasn't like anything to jump or scream about, quite frankly. So, like I said, it's forgettable.
With your hoping for a decent Metroid game, I think it's kind of a long shot. I forget the name exactly, but you're going to know which game I'm talking about. Mighty Hero number 9.
Oh, Jesus, stop!
Made by the exact team that made Metroid.
No, it was the exact team who made Mega Man.
Sorry, Mega Man.
Yeah.
They're both the same game, obviously.
Well, like, no.
Start with
You're
M.
still,
Yeah, they both start with ME. No, but their vision for Mighty number 9 was they're like, here's the spiritual successor for Mega Man.
yeah.
But it obviously didn't work
Well,
out.
I know what you mean by the whole long shot thing, and I'm not disagreeing with you. In fact, I'm actually agreeing with you on this one. But it's like, I'm still hoping that there is going to be that new game from that IP that actually kickstarts the franchise again, whether it be a new generation of like Samus or some shit like that.
Would you want it to be like 3D or 2D Metroid?
That is a good
Mega
question.
Huh?
Mega Man.
Like genuinely, that is a good question, because in terms of like Metroid, I grew up on Metroid Fusion. I loved that game, and I still. The fuck are you laughing about?
No, I thought we were talking about Mega Man.
No, dude, we were talking about Metroid this entire time.
Yeah, he wanted a good Metroid game.
Really?
Yeah.
My B. That's my bad. Because
I think you got confused when you said Mighty number 9.
Did I?
And then we corrected you as saying it
okay.
was team from Mega Man.
Okay, I thought I said Metroid, and he said, no, it's Mega Man, not Metroid.
No.
And then I was like, wait a second. Hold on. Okay, that's my bad. Sorry about that.
Fuck did you? How?
Anyways,
I grew up on Metroid Fusion like for the majority of my childhood, and I did end up playing the Metroid Prime games, all 3 of them, and I loved all 3 of them and whatnot. And I even loved Metroid Prime, and I'm going to be trying to work my way through Super Metroid here before too long, because I have it as a virtual console on my Wii U, I should say. But like, yeah, no, I really couldn't answer that one for you, because like I don't know. I genuinely don't know whether or not I want it to be a 3D or a 2D. If they were to do a really good 2D and maybe a really good 3D, then like I'd be happy for both of them. Even if
if it does the Metroid franchise justice.
Exactly. If it actually saves the franchise from its last couple atrocities, because Metroid Other M, it really wasn't that great. The controls were very weird, and just general gameplay was just not really. And, well, I should also make mention that story wasn't exactly the greatest either.
They ruined Samus in Metroid Other M for me.
Yeah.
Like, she's supposed to be this badass bounty hunter. It's like, I don't care about nothing. But in this, she's like, oh no, all this bad stuff happening. I don't know if I can handle this. And then her, like, Marine boyfriend dies or whatever, and she's like, I am Rick, and a white woman with blonde hair.
Bless her.
Yeah, but I would prefer 2D. I like the 2D ones better. Don't get me wrong, Prime was great.
Yeah.
But I am more centered around because with the 2D games, I noticed there's definitely more written plot. With the 3D games, they kind of like tell you what's going on a little bit, but there's not the notes, that you had in Metroid 2 and Metroid Fusion.
Yeah.
Because you'd go into a new area and it'd be like notes taken, and you can read in detail about like her perspective, and like instead of here's kind of what's happening, go do that thing.
Well, and with Metroid Fusion, the one thing I could say is that it was very good at progressing the story whenever you were in the navigation rooms and whatnot. But of course, I don't know. In the end, I don't know. I want them just to make a good Metroid game that will do that series justice. But anyways, just to quickly brush over Bethesda, the executives for that confirmed it. It is coming to the Switch. The Switch reveal was actually telling the truth, and that there was going to be Skyrim on there. So yippee, I guess. And also Bethesda, why would you do this? Why would you force that game onto us again? Because I wasn't the biggest fan of Skyrim. It was fun for a while, and then it got super fucking boring.
What I think, I agree with you in that they're overdoing it.
Yeah,
extremely. Like, I was really iffy when they're like, hey, you get the Redux edition for the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One or even the PC.
Yeah.
With these mods that you could get on the PC in the first place. And now they're like, hey, you can take it wherever you want to go. You can play it wherever now. And I'm sitting here like, okay, but what if we don't want to? It's mainly like, are you going to bring Skyrim to a park and just like sit there and be like, hey, I came to a park to play Skyrim.
I'm super nerd who needed to get out and get my vitamin D.
In all seriousness, I hope this Bethesda, by doing this, has opened a door where they can bring some of their other titles.
Yeah, like Fallout or something.
And maybe future Elder Scroll titles as well.
Maybe.
If they're going to have any.
Like, in general, like, it's both of a yay and nay situation here. Like, I'm okay with the decision by Bethesda, and all the same, I'm like, why? Why would you do that? It's pointless. But, like, yeah, it's not really worth talking too much. How many of you guys are familiar with Travis Touchdown?
Nope.
Okay, then, like, we're not even going to talk about it because I don't know jack shit about this franchise, so...
Sounds like a football game.
No, it was after the Bethesda release or press release for that. There was that one trailer for the one, like, super rad dude who's like, yeah.
There's literally just concept art for him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The guy is like, we got this guy called Travis Touchdown.
I was kind of like blown away by how awkward the Bethesda thing was. He was like, I'm finally glad that we can be with Nintendo. Now you can play Skyrim outside. And I was like,
outside, you filthy, greasy nerd.
I was like, what? And then it's like, hey, this is blah, blah, blah. And I was like, there's no game. I don't want to see this.
Yeah.
So I just like skipped ahead a little bit.
So just skipping over that one. Shekel Arts decides to show their face on stage. EA.
Oh. Shekel Arts.
Yeah.
What?
Dude, I kind of just started calling EA Shekel Arts because their company is just kind of one big giant cash grab when you think about it. Like, yeah, sure, they do produce some pretty good games, but like when they came on stage and they pretty much announced that, like, oh, FIFA's coming to the Switch, I'm like, I don't play that game. I don't give a shit.
Does that mean a Battlefield's going to come to the Switch?
Oh,
probably not, quite frankly.
Honestly, I found it extremely underwhelming that FIFA's coming to the Switch because it has a limited fan base already.
Dude, are you kidding me? FIFA, in terms of one of their games, is among one of the most played sports-related games. Like, every single retarded 14-year-old child pretty much loves that game and will circle jerk around.
What I was getting at is that the people who play FIFA already have it on their PlayStation or their Xbox. They're not going to come to the Switch and be like, I want to play FIFA on the Switch now.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, I'll just play the same FIFA, the same game.
But now think, instead of playing soccer in the park, you can bring your Switch and play soccer in the park.
Yes.
Just tape it to the goal and just like, there's no motion controls for this.
Hey, dude, you want to come play a game of soccer? No, I'm playing FIFA right now.
Dude, didn't get out of the fucking field. No, I'm playing my FIFA.
But I think I was more entertained at that part with the guy who was translating for him into Japanese, because he was just kind of like,
oh no,
looking at him all weird, just like, stop talking, dude, so I don't forget everything.
Dude. That's the thing. Did you realize that was Bill Trinan?
No, I don't know anyone from EA. I don't really care.
No. Bill Trinan is the one of the Nintendo employees.
Mm.
Like, you know, like Reggie there's Reggie Fils-Aimé, there was Miyamoto, Aonuma, and all that crap. Mm-hmm. Bill Trinan was the translator for him.
I haven't heard of Bill Trinan, I'm sorry.
Do you not remember when Yokai Watch was coming out for...
I didn't even know about Yokai Watch until Ethan was like, hey, look at this game that I got.
Oh.
Yokai Watch is so
I'm not...
Well, just like, have you seen any of the more recent Nintendo Directs? Like the one that they did. Okay, yeah, whatever. So anyone who's been following the Nintendo Directs for a while knows who Bill Trinan is.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, I don't know who he is.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, hang on. Remember when they were kind of like doing the whole marketing scheme for the new Nintendo 3DS original sizes for North America and EU, I believe?
I don't know if I saw any commercials for that.
It was more like the YouTube related videos and whatnot.
I don't know. I just saw the Pokemon one. And I was like, I want that.
Same, but then I was like, oh, geez, my wallet has flies in it.
Like, I'm pretty much just like kicking a dead horse because neither of you obviously know
Anyways.
what I'm talking about. Anyways, so I had actually noticed that Bill Trinan was translating for Shekel Man, as I will call him. And so I kind of just found that to be one of those many humorous things that I just had to chuckle at. It's like, I felt sorry for Bill because he had to be on stage with that dude. But it was like, well, like, you're working for Nintendo, you got to make money somehow. But anyways, let's see. I guess, like, when the Nintendo president of Europe took the screen, I kind of felt sorry for him because his accent was so thick. It was just like...
It's funny because I think Nintendo of America had a better deal on that part. Because, in Nintendo of Europe, she's just in front of a green screen going like, hey, it's going to be pretty
Hello,
cool.
it is I, Nintendo president of Europe. And all that. And
anyways.
Anyways.
Did you see a Pio Tetris?
No.
What? No! You didn't see that?
No, I didn't.
It's hilarious. So it's essentially if you wanted to play Tetris with 4 players, and what I got from it is like they're adding all sorts of, I don't know. It's basically Japanized Tetris.
Japanized
It's like you have all sorts of like anime characters and like
Tetris Royale.
Pretty much, I think that's what I could gather. Like, it was just a bunch of...
Tetris Royale, but with fan service.
Yeah, but it's not only Tetris. It was also, like, this other game. I'm not familiar with it. It was another one where it's like you place these things. Like, you could pull up the trailer for it and watch it, but...
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was funny.
So, of course, it can never be a Nintendo presentation without good old Reggie Fils-Aimé coming onto screen,
or Miyamoto.
It cannot be a Nintendo presentation without Reggie Fils-Aimé and Miyamoto-san, and like, of course, and then it all kind of wraps right into it beautifully with switching into it. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Oh my god.
It seems pretty cool.
Dude. The fact that they actually have voice acting. Like, I'm pretty sure that they are going to have voice acting in this game now.
It's funny, I got like a Twilight Princess vibe. Calamity Ganon
Yeah.
going all like, I'm destroying everything.
But definitely the vibe that I was getting from it was that the storyline itself is going to be extremely emotional, because what they were implying with the story itself is that Link has no memory of what happened. So chances are whatever happened 100 years ago put him into a state of stasis, where he was out, he couldn't do jack and whatnot, and he was asleep for 100 years and whatnot, and he has no recollection of what happened all those times ago. All those times.
The history of Hyrule is also the history of Calamity Ganon, so maybe he's been there the whole time. I don't know.
Kevin, I think you and I talked about this a little bit last night, where this could be one of the games that wraps up one of the storylines.
Yeah, my theory is that it's actually one of, if not the last game in the Zelda storyline, because there's a ton of things in the game that point towards it. For instance, the state the Master Sword is in, and I'm guessing will be in until a certain point in the game, unless you fight with it that way, because you're definitely going to use it. It shows in the title screen after the trailer, the sword comes down and there's blood on it.
Yeah.
So obviously you're probably going to use it to fight Ganon. If Ganon is going to be a physical entity in this game and not just like, you have to do this to destroy him and not fight him.
But I'd have to kind of argue with, like, I don't think it exactly ties all three of the timelines together, because with Twilight Princess, that tied off its timeline pretty well, because he kills Ganon in Twilight Princess right at the end. He straight up stabs him right through the heart and kills him.
The way it works is that it just repeats itself. That's the curse he placed on them. Mm-hmm. Like, he dies, they die, however much time passes, and then it restarts again.
Yeah.
With, their spirits, if you want to call it. Like in Twilight Princess, the old warrior that you train with?
Yeah.
That's very likely a past life Link has had.
Yes.
That's what people think, at least. And that's what I'm going to go with, because it seems the most likely. I think it might tie them together, if not end one of the main timelines.
Yeah.
As in, this is the first time we've seen such profound use of the technology. So that, in my mind, that means, like, they've progressed to a certain level and then something happened. I'm guessing it's probably the Calamity Ganon, or something happened. They threw Link in the cryo chamber, whatever it is, the super space agey cryo chamber, and then needed him to come out when Ganon resurfaces, if they, like, did something to make him stop.
Well, I think it sounded more like, because at near the end you had that voice over saying for Link to save his daughter.
Yeah. So it's like the Red Lion.
Something really bad is going to happen to Zelda if Link doesn't, because, like, she's crying and, like, everything she's worked for is now.
Yeah. Like I said, the story is extremely emotional. Very clearly, it's extremely emotional, and as they've said time and time again throughout that presentation, Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild is a launch title.
Yeah, that's nice.
Time.
I think that would like, if I was to get a Switch, I'd definitely pick that game up.
Yeah. No, and, like, that's going to be the first game I get if I get a Switch, which...
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Like, that's one of those games that you have to play that game first on the Switch.
I'm also curious with that game, like, how much novelty there is apart from doing the storyline. Because, like, didn't they say, like, you could tame animals or something?
Yeah, they were saying that that the game was going to be a lot more open world this go around.
I know they said open world, like, but being able to interact with that world would be cool. Like, if you could have, like, ally animals where you could, like...
Yeah, I did watch that part of the Treehouse live stream. That's one of the things that, like, for instance, if there's a class that lets you have a pet, I'm that class. Because pets in games are amazing. I like it. If
you're retarded then.
Whatever.
Oh,
anyways,
roasted.
They showed in the trailer that you don't have a set horse like Epona. You have to get one yourself. And the way you do that is kind of like, have you guys played Redemption before?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that taming system. You sneak up behind one and you jump on it and you just ride it around. It might kick you off. It might even kill you if it's strong enough. They said it can be, some horses can be strong enough to kill you. And they have certain stats attributed to them. So the one they caught on the stream, it was like this kind of brown one with spots on it. And it had 63 out of what I'm guessing is 100 strength. And I'm guessing that's how fast it goes and how much health it has. And it did show in some of the trailers combat on the horse. So I'm glad they're bringing that back.
Yeah, well, like I feel like with any 3D Zelda at this point, if you don't have horse combat, it kind of isn't really much of a Zelda game. At least in my opinion, anyways. That's very much of a subjective opinion, though.
I don't know. I think just from a personal, I'd love to be able to like have the novelty of like befriending creatures, because like it's Breath of the Wild. You're like part of this ecosystem, and so like then being able to maybe have them be of some use in battle, that would be cool. Or just to give something to make the world feel alive and you be able to interact with the world aside from the plot line, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So the way they had it set up was they had the chief producer and then the executive producer, and they both had translators, obviously. And then they had this American Nintendo associate playing the game. And there's these stables, which ties into the horse part. You can bring the horse there, and they'll put a saddle on it and reins, and you can just keep it after that.
It's like GTA's car system.
Like a garage.
Yeah,
but you do have to pay money. So it's like 20 rupees. That's what it showed. Also, it's a really funny part. He tries to feed the horse an apple to like make it more tame, but he drops it on the ground instead, and there's a dog that comes up and eats the apple, and then it starts following him around. And he's like, oh, whoa, it's following me now. I was mad because it stole my apple. I was going to give it to the horse. And he named his horse Not Epona, which was really funny. And then the executive producer was like, yeah, no, you can drop food on the ground and slowly animals will start following you, and that's how you can tame them. He said dogs and horses, but I think he only said that because he doesn't want to reveal that there might be more creatures that you can tame.
Just like send an army of squirrels after Ganon.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like you walk in and he's like, haha, you can't defeat me, and then like 5,000 squirrels come up behind you.
I think, but like, regardless if they actually implement it, I think open world Zelda would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
just because the novelty of seeing this living world or something. Like a lot of games have done it. I'm a fan of that.
And, okay, this is a bit of a biased opinion, but like if this game is in fact the last one out of the entire Zelda franchise, I'm glad. I am personally glad that it's coming to an end. Or I would personally be glad that it's coming to an end. Because I believe, in a sense, if you allow the game to go on for too long, or you let there be too many iterations, it kind of just starts losing its novelty. And we've seen it very clearly with Call of Duty, but of course Call of Duty's decided to do an annual release on games and whatnot. And besides the point, the games themselves start losing their novelty, and it becomes kind of just a bleh experience. So like I don't know if it does become the last game in the franchise, then me personally I will be glad.
I think I get what you mean. It's kind of that way with me and the new Super Mario Bros.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we get it. We don't need new Super Mario Bros. We had the first one.
No.
Yeah, like I think it would be fine if it wasn't the last one, as long as, because the time difference between the last Zelda game when it first came out and this one is a giant gap. And I'm glad they took that much time because it looks like they did a good job.
only had remakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if they waited and took their time to really investigate what the fans like about Zelda and like about the new game and made that into an even better Zelda experience, then I would be definitely happy with that.
Yeah, then like I could see it going both ways. Like maybe this is laying the groundwork for a different Zelda that changes up the formula a little bit to give something that's not stale, or they're just going to give you as many features as possible and then end it with like a positive, really good game. I don't know what they're going, but they could do both. I guess time will tell.
Yeah. Do you? I was thinking about this for a while after I saw the trailer. Do you think there might be multiple endings for once?
Maybe.
Because it does leave room for that.
The open world like setting kind of could be an excuse for that.
Well, if it did have multiple endings to the game, then it would open the opportunity to have more timelines to work on, and that would open up more source material, which in turn would pretty much downplay what I just said about having the game pretty much end, or like what you've said, the game pretty much ending. If it has multiple endings, it allows for more source material. So I'd say play the entire game and we'll see what happens, I guess. But let's try wrapping this up a bit and quickly brushing over Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, because they didn't say much, or I don't even think they said anything in the presentation.
They just showed a battle mode.
Yeah, that's about it.
And Splatoon characters.
I feel like this is a bit more of a cash grab on Nintendo's end, at least in my opinion, which is a bit of a dick move in my personal perspective. But like, if they were to show, if they were to give the Wii U users a way to transfer all their files for the Wii U Mario Kart 8 over into the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, then I think there could be a bit of a pardon there for them, instead of having us rebuy the game.
But could that also mean that maybe that means that you're not going to be able to play any Wii U titles on it, like if you already had the game? Because they're basically releasing the same game with maybe a couple new features, and I don't think like it's different enough to warrant its own initial its own release.
Well, it's coming on the Switch. It's not going to have a double.
Well, like it doesn't seem like a game where it would be like, oh hey, this is different, and it is this console's Mario Kart game, because like each Nintendo consoles has basically a main Mario Kart game. Yeah. Same with Smash Bros. But this seems more just like you can't play Mario Kart 8 on the Switch from your Wii U, so we'll just give you basically the same game but for the Switch.
I see it kind of like, Game of the Year edition. I think it's going to be like that. Or like when Mario Kart 8 first introduced the Amiibo support, they're like, hey, you can play as Link if you get the Link Amiibo. Or like, hey, you can have your Miis dress up in different outfits based on the Amiibos you get. I think it might just be like, all that stuff you could have gotten with more money? Well, now it's in the deluxe edition, but only for the Switch.
Well, even then, I still feel like it's a bit more of a cash grab than anything, because Game of the Years are, in some sense, a cash grab.
Yeah, Mario Kart doesn't really seem like a game that would win Game of the Year.
Yeah.
I just meant like Game of the Year.
I know what you're talking about.
I could see that being Game of the Year because it went platinum, I believe, a few times when it initially got released.
I'm surprised they didn't actually like make a 5-second trailer for Switch Smash.
I don't think they're going to be releasing a Smash for a while. I think they're just going to let Smash for the Wii U and 3DS kind of sit and simmer for a bit. But like, I don't know, they might announce something at E3 or PAX.
But if they did, what would they do to the people who are like hardcore GameCube controller users and stuff? Like would they sell a GameCube adapter for the Switch?
They might just be like
for the Wii.
Yeah, I'm kind of concerned about that personally.
Because I did see on the dock that has 2 USB ports at least.
Well, they might be planning for something like that then, or they might be using the same kind of like firmware that is used for the Wii U GameCube adapters, and they just might be.
Hopefully, you could just use those on that.
I hope so.
That'd be great.
It would make our lives so much easier.
Or they could just be like, get the Pro Controller and suck it up.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Anyways, let's move on to the last, I guess, little topic regarding the Switch. So developing on the Switch. This is kind of an interesting one because I have the ability to pretty much get the API for the Nintendo for the Wii U and 3DS and like actually start working with it in Unity and whatnot, since Wii U and 3DS utilize Unity for their engines in a lot of the indie games anyways. But one of the things that I'm most curious about, because get the actual dev tools, at least for the Wii U, it costs you like almost $3,500 just for the dev tools.
Well, so when they showed like partners, Unity was on that list.
Yeah, no. What I'm talking about, or what I guess my main question of curiosity is,
like, do you need special hardware?
Exactly.
Because like I know with the Xbox One, you can just have an Xbox One and then you could use it as a development console. Because
but like with
Unity and stuff.
With NVIDIA's Tegra chip, I know usually like the Tegras operate best on an Android device, at least from what I'm gathering, because all the devices that NVIDIA has had a Tegra chip on usually operates with a kind of form of Android. It's usually utilizing some form of Android that's probably tailored to NVIDIA hardware or something like that. I don't know, but like I'm personally hoping in this case that it doesn't require any extra hardware, and it's like getting developer tools on Android where you just have to like do a couple loops and you
tap the about button like
yeah.
Oh man,
something like that.
I really big long shot right here, but with the touch screen on the Switch, I would like to see a revival of Flipnote Hatena. Honestly, like
yes,
that would be amazing.
A legitimate revival, not just like handing codes out to people who actually signed up for it.
Or like you had a Nintendo club account when that was the thing. Here's the code. Guess what? Servers are down. You can't look at other people's stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, like I have Flipnote Hatena 3D. I never use it though because it's like.
But with how big the screen is,
no, I see what you mean by that.
It'd be great.
I'm assuming that you'll be able to use pretty much anything to draw on it, like you can with every other Nintendo console.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's a good touchscreen.
Yeah.
Well, judging by what they were saying, chances are they're probably going with like a 10-point capacitive touch screen, which would be.
I'm not concerned with like multi-touch. I'm just like the resolution of the touch itself, being able to like not have like lines that are just like stair steps.
Oh,
yeah. Like we were talking about earlier. They were saying that it was on the display itself. It was going to be 720. So if they actually keep to their word and if they actually decide to magically release one and it actually like holds up to the standards and it actually improves on it, then I think we'll be fine in the end. We'll be able to have higher resolution Hatena footnotes and whatnot. But like I don't know.
I mean that was never the thing for me. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah. No, I had a DSi when I was younger, so I know what Flipnote Hatena is like.
I had Flipnote on DS Lite.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mainly my thing is like using it as a kind of half-assed drawing tablet. Honestly, that would be cool. You might be able to do something with USB-C, but
like peripherals, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. What I'm kind of worried about is keeping the little sucker clean, because
Oh,
it's got a really nice,
Yeah.
shiny matte finish on the screen. And I'm afraid I'm just going to be lazy and be like, I don't want to take out the stylus tab and then
my
like a
Wii
giant
gamepad
fingerprint.
looks
Yeah.
like so messy. 'cause
Like
it's-
that's been a major
fingerprint
issue with
magnet.
all Nintendo products, is that they've decided that it's okay to use a glossy finish. Why do they do that? I just, god damn it, it actually pisses me off just thinking about it. But I hope, in the end, I hope that they actually, make sure that the material composition isn't a giant fingerprint magnet, because that would make it a major pain in the ass to clean constantly.
Yeah, just use felt gloves.
God damn it.
microfiber cloths.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty. Any last thoughts from you guys and whatnot?
I'll probably be pre-ordering it with Breath of the Wild and then not get any game besides Mario, but
Dude, same.
Yeah, man. I'm curious what's to come for it, because even though this event revealed a lot of things, there's still a lot of questions out there.
They're holding a lot back, despite the fact that it is January 13th and the release date is March 3rd. They need to start releasing a little bit more information, I would say, quickly.
Like, does it have an SD card slot? For
Well, judging
saving
by
stuff?
the kind of I/O that they had, at least from the images that I was seeing, they did have an SD card reader, and they also had the cartridge reader for the games for those who decide to go physical copies and whatnot. But I don't know.
Are they still going to use full-sized DVD cases for these cartridges?
God, I
they
hope
are.
not.
Yeah. They have released
Oh, yeah.
the pictures of the cases, and they are full DVD size
Yeah.
with the tiny little cartridge in the middle, which is great.
Yeah.
But I think they might be going more towards hard drives.
Digital.
Yeah,
But I don't think at the moment storing it all on like a hard drive or something is the greatest idea, unless they're like implying get an SD card or something like that.
Well, I mean, instead of the SD card, you said that there are USB ports on it.
On the dock. I don't know about the actual tablet itself.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I
be
don't
able to
think the
say.
tablet does, but what I mean is you might be able to have, let's say, a 20 gigabyte hard drive that they sell or something like that, and attach it to that and maybe switch around some games that switch them from the tablet to the actual dock. It might have. It's definitely going to have more storage space on the dock.
Or like maybe you could. Hopefully they'll go the route of being able to like install your cartridge games or something, and then
You do. This is off topic. You do realize I'm going to have to like edit in the Switch sound for every single time we say Switch now.
But I'm curious what cartridges will do, because from my understanding they'll load pretty dang fast.
Yeah.
If they do the right thing with the cartridges and not go like super crappy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, my final statement on this topic, I could say just Nintendo Switch as a whole, is that I have a lot of concerns about it, but all the same, this has been a long time coming, and I do feel like this is kind of the situation that happened back when the Virtual Boy was released. There was a product that was just released way before its time, and then of course you turn around and have the N64 come out, and it was actually like amazingly well and had a lot of products to back it up with. There's, from what they're saying, I'd say that there is a chance with this one, but all the same, I'm very skeptical about it, I guess.
I don't think it's the same situation as the Virtual Boy. I think.
Well, I'm referring to how like the market reacted to it. Like,
But I don't like at this point with the Wii U. I don't think the Switch is that like futuristic and oh my gosh, people are going to like say this is too far into the
well,
future.
I'm not saying it's
Like,
exactly that. I mean,
I think people are going to say if its battery life is good when you're playing a game outside, and if the Joy-Cons are not cramp heavy when you have like big hands or something, like hopefully, I think it's looking to be a good console. Just personally,
well, I was more implying it along the lines of like how they were kind of marketing the N64 to the public and just kind of, referencing it to how they're marketing the Switch. They try to support their claims a little bit, and you could say that they did pretty well at supporting themselves. And then in this case, we don't know at the moment.
And yeah, there's still a lot of questions surrounding various aspects of the Switch, but I guess from what I've seen, it's at least going to be like a good home console.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like it's probably, I'm probably going to guarantee it's no worse than the Wii U was.
Yeah.
So, but like again, with the lack of backwards compatibility, this will pretty much be like the first Nintendo console that can't play previous gen games.
Yeah, this will be a fresh
at least
start.
Physical copies. I hope they're going to at least do like a virtual console thing.
Yeah.
If anything, but still, I don't want to rebuy all my Wii U games if I want to play them on my Switch.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I think I'm kind of looking forward to it. At least for the games that are coming out. I think those will be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'd say my final score on the console so far, just from the press release and the conference they had, 8 out of 10.
Okay, IGN. Too much water.
8 out of 10 console of the year. No. Around 8 out of 10, maybe 8.5 for returning Nintendo fans. But with the games they have lined up, not including the ones they didn't go too in depth with, I'd say a good 9.
Yeah, I'm not gonna give a score on it. It's not really worth giving a score on something that you haven't even put your hands on yet, because it could be like a giant Sean Murray just surrounding the entirety of the Switch, and it just ends up being a load of bullshit that everyone pretty much loses their shit over. So like, I'm not gonna give a score on it. I'm not gonna like treat it like it's some sort of review or something like that. I'm just gonna say I wish Nintendo honestly the best in their endeavors with this, and I hope that this one actually is the one that gets them back into the market and actually lights a fire under Phil Spencer's and whoever runs Sony over there. And I hope this one lights a fire under their ass, quite frankly, and gets them to actually get their projects up and going faster.
Here's to hoping that their stocks go back up.
Yeah! Alrighty,
luck,
I think
Nintendo.
we will end it there. My name is wow, I was about ready to use my internet alias. Fuck that. My name is Mitchell. Thank you to Kevin and Cullen for joining the podcast and all. And this has, of course, stop scratching your mic, Cullen.
It has an itch.
Alrighty. This has been the Nerdcast. Thank you guys for listening. If you guys enjoyed the podcast, make sure to give that, if you guys are on YouTube, make sure to give that a good old subscribe. If you are on SoundCloud, make sure to like it, comment, give us your feedback on all platforms. If you're on iTunes, definitely give us your opinions, please. But
Such a cliche.
Whatever.
Please like us.
Please
comment
like
good
us.
things.
I'm a filthy like whore.
Like and subscribe, leave a comment down in the comment section. Dislike if you don't like, obviously. Please. Thank you.
Yeah, well, no, just like give us some feedback. This is all pretty much just one giant work in progress in a sense. There's going to be a lot of shit that changes over the next course of the year or so if this actually decides to remain as is and continues and stuff. But anyways, once again, thank you all for listening, and we will see you on the next podcast.